Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botch Bots and Share Shots, powered by Last Word on Sports. I am your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me today, ladies and gentlemen, we got him finally. Long couple years. Effie's in the chair. He is a weapon of sass destruction. Daddy's home. Effie, thanks for coming on Chat About Some Wrestling, brother. How are you?
Thank you. Well, yeah, I feel great. I'm excited. I swore off media for a while, and now I'm returning to my media throne. I'm trying to make sure there's no facade up or anything. Somebody told me recently, like, I don't know how to turn it off. So I think I turned it off for a while, and now instead of turning it all the way on, I try to make sure, not that I'm not Effie all the time, but you want to make sure you're talking to Taylor too. So both sides of me are here. I am still a human, contrary to popular belief, but I'm also a fantastic fantasy person. So I think I can mix a little bit of both, and we can have some fun today.
It's one of my favorite things to do with this, and I try to run one of those. It's not a work interview or a shoot interview. I try to dance on that fine line so we can get a little bit of both sides of it. So let's kind of start at the top. I'm going to ask you a simple question. You're coming out of the two busiest years of your career, right? So coming into 2024, man, how is Effie? How is Effie doing in 2024?
Effie was exhausted. I told myself I would take less of a December, and I kind of did, but I still was just like, oh, even a less of a December is still like a lot for me. But it's weird to me. Like, I've been full-time as Effie since the pandemic began. I left a career behind, about 4 years ago. And a lot of people are still surprised when they hear like, this is all I do, which, like, I've learned the blessing and the curse of that, which is like, I love my job. I have a fantastic job, but it is my job. And so sometimes you're showing up and, it's fun. It's a dream job. It's magic. But I think at certain points you're like, oh, I've been up for 22 hours. Yeah, my real functional portion of my job was 15 minutes in the ring or whatever it may be. But everything else around it, like, I had to start acknowledging that, because I was trying to sort of pretend that wasn't wearing me out. And, at a certain point it does. And I think even with this year, from August to October, it was Australia into doing the collective in Chicago, into doing, Atlantic City and a few other dates in Washington, and then doing the UK and Germany for a week, and then going straight to Japan after doing shows in Atlantic City, and then coming back and immediately doing shows in LA and Atlanta. And by the end of that run, I was sort of just like burnt out. And I think admitting that to myself was sort of the best thing I could have done. And, I've also been a person who's like very much a little too present in a sense, because sometimes like being in the present is absolutely necessary. It's wonderful. I want to be focused on what I am doing, what is ahead, what is right in front of me. But I also forget, like, okay, you've done a lot of things, you've done a lot of stuff, and sort of being able to reflect a little bit and go, these things that are causing me issue, or these things that are tougher than they need to be, what am I doing to make sure I'm acknowledging, like, Effie is enough of a big deal to where I shouldn't have to deal with some of these things anymore. And so having that reflective time, and also just like pulling back a slight bit, like, I still have bills, I still pay my bills being a performer, but being able to go like, okay, do you need to take every single thing, or are you scheduling yourself in a way that is reasonable, and you're not on a plane, doing 3 dates in 41 hours in 3 different time zones, and you're wondering why you're tired. You show up in the house with your dog, and you're looking at your roommate going, why am I so tired? And he's going, are you kidding me? I thought you would have crashed out 3 months ago. It's been a journey of self-discovery, but it's also like, all right, well, I'm going to be pushing this ball up the hill for a long time. I don't have any goals of, being contracted anywhere. I feel free, and I'm able to kind of control what Effie does and how I show up. And so with that being the case, I've had to get a little smarter, because there's not really a blueprint necessarily. Even Colt Cabana got off the indies. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who was on the indies for 10, 15 years, and he eventually had an exit plan. And it's like, how do I maintain being a full-time performer with this, and not lose my mind with there not really being like, oh, but when I make it, it'll be worth it. It's like, this is making it. I've made it and I'm making it. How do I continue making it while not losing my mind? I know that's a long answer for that, but it's the magic.
I love long answers. That's why I'm in
Good.
this
Okay.
business.
I won't apologize again then.
Looking at that, work-life balance is huge. Every industry, chef by trade, mark by choice. I was in the restaurant industry for 20 years before I got into the silly
Mm.
world of journalism. How are you going about getting a semblance of work-life balance with everything you just rattled off? Between the work and the Big Gay Brunch, we're about to dive into that. Like everything you're doing, plus the streaming successfully. Like, how are you juggling everything? How's that work-life balance coming?
I have gotten so much better at giving myself permission to do nothing, which like it's very hard for me to do. My dad was definitely a workaholic. He worked in retail, he managed retail stores. And so, 90-hour weeks were normal for him. And for me, with it being sort of a performing job and what I call a fantasy job, it's hard to acknowledge some of the stuff as work, obviously. And so I once again have kind of had to peel back and say, like, okay, well, it's okay that you're not doing anything for 6 hours on a Tuesday. Like, it's all right if you just want to watch TV. It's okay if you just go to the park. Like, if you don't make it to the gym today, I'm not going to kill myself over it. It's a part of my job. I want my body to be ready to handle what I'm doing to it in the ring. Obviously, it goes through a lot of punishment, but I'm also going to go like, all right, well, I'm not going to feel like a piece of shit if I don't make it today, or if I'm not doing everything I need to do in a day. Like, I'm fine with letting stuff hit the back burner now. Not that I'm not still pushing to get stuff done, but especially like with the Big Gay Brunches, I've also kind of reached a point where I'm like, all right, well, if someone else could step up and do this, that'd be great. We've done a lot. I just did Big Gay Thanksgiving in North Carolina, in a fairly red state up until it used to have some blue in it, but not really much. I did one overseas. I did one in Chicago. I did one in LA this year. So that's like 4 gay events that I was running this year. And I think after Philly, I'm going to take a little bit of a break just because, I love it. I'm glad this gives opportunities to people, but also I need to be in control of what I'm doing. And, it's not all on me to get this done, And so it's like, it's okay for me to take a little back burner. I don't have to, throw everything off completely, but like looking at the body of work, when I step back and actually reflect, I go, okay, like that's nuts what you were able to accomplish in that short period of time. It's okay to take a breath.